Welcome to another fun-filled Friday, Fun Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Kingdom McGee on the Twitter and at Kingdom McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can catch up on other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Please download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, make sure you find us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And while you're at it, please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're available on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Gram, and YouTube. Once again, please find Sports Zone Chicago, not Sports, good grief. War Media on all social media platforms at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly or stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to be and be about.
Bye-bye.
I love she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago, now available on Roku TV. That's right. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app through that avenue. If you don't have a Roku TV, but you have some handheld devices laying around, your personal PC, your Chromebook, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, just go to that Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and make sure you subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago. Download that Sports Zone Chicago app today through the Roku TV app using the handheld device. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
Oh, boy.
And shout out to our guy, Brandon Schutz down there in Texas. He says he has a Roku TV. Just tap on that sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago app. I know he said he's going to miss us for about he said we may have missed you last week. Hey, like we said, just if you missed a live show, go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. So thank you for the support, Brandon. We really appreciate it. Lakina, we have a busy show today, and what's our guest list? It looks like it's quite full for once.
Yes, it is. Well, I would say for once, but it's the first time in a while that we have had such a full guest load. We got a newbie come to the program, Mateo Mayorga. I think that's how you say his name, from 5 Recent Sports. He'll talk NBA conference finals and maybe even some draft lottery talk, and maybe
it won't involve the Bulls, at least as of now, anyway.
Well, that's true, but also too, like what the Bulls could do, and perhaps maybe the coaching carousel going on there. And we got our buddy KXRB's Christine Manika. Makes her return, as well as her fiancé Chris Gilman, who will, of course, he's a golfer. He'll talk about the PGA Championship that's going on right now over at Oak Hill, and also 2 other sports happenings, including some pretty interesting sports media news as well. So we'll have that for you coming up.
Yes, for right now, Lakina, let's get started with some baseball talk. We'll start out with our local teams first. Brandon, thanks for the support. I think Lakina needs some more than I do. But the Chicago Cubs, they were swept by the Houston Astros earlier this week down there in the state of Texas. And of course, the White Sox take care of the Guardians. Had a chance to sweep the Guardians yesterday, but they failed in that 3rd game. Let's start off with the Cubs first, Lakina. We talked about it all year long. Their starting staff has been spectacular, but their starting staff just couldn't hold the fort during this series. The bullpen is what did the Cubs in. The Astros, we have some big news about them coming up. We'll tell you about that in just a moment. But looking at this series, Lakina, the Cubs bullpen absolutely imploded. They got the Cubs now on the flip side had offense, 2 home runs each in the series from Seiya Suzuki and Christopher Morel, who's actually been the energizer plug ever since he was called up a couple of weeks ago, along with rookie Matt Mervis. Congratulations to Mash Mervis, by the way, for hitting his first career home run in that series. The Cubs offense has not been the problem lately, Lakina. It's been the pitching, i.e. the bullpen. Now, check this statistic out. I was watching MLB Network this morning. Throughout the first 16 games of the year, the Cubs were 11-6. Their starter ERA was at around 2.6. But during their last 26 games, their record has been terrible, 18-8. Both the starters in bullpen ERA for the Cubs, both near 5 runs a game. That's not going to get it done if you expect to be competitive this season.
Well, yeah, it's a sort of, Drew Smiley. I'm thinking about that game on Wednesday where the Cubs were up, I think, like 6-1, and and unfortunately, I guess 6 runs, within the 8th and 9th innings by the Astros, and that kind of did the Cubs in. And it's going to be interesting because you think about Keegan Thompson. It's actually been okay, but it's been guys like Carson Fulmer and those guys. I mean, it's unfortunate that they could have won a couple of those games, and Azalea, I think, has been up and down. Mark Leiter Jr. has been up and down as well. So it's kind of been sort of like a closer by committee kind of thing for the Cubs. And unfortunately, I've seen some people say, I heard David Kaplan said on the radio that maybe they should trade, for Aroldis Chapman. Well, here's the thing. You just rebuilt your farm system back up for the Cubs. And you don't want to have to give up prospects. You actually have a good farm system now and a full farm system. You're not going to trade a couple of guys just because, yes, your bullpen for the most part has been terrible. I would say in the end, I feel like at this point, let's wait it out. They start their series against the Phillies in Philadelphia starting tonight. Let's see how this goes. I mean, they're in a tough stretch, the Cubs are. And look, they're still right there in their division. So it's not like, they don't have a shot to win a division. No one, Milwaukee's not going to pull away. The Pirates have fallen back to earth. We'll get to the rest of the stuff after the break. But it just feels like at this point, I think I'm seeing Cubs fans get all miffed and get all pissed off. I mean, the Astros are the defending champions. Yes, they've had some injury issues. I got some big news in just a second, but let's give them a little bit of credit here. That the fact that they've actually been okay, so far. Yes, you could probably say that they're not at that level with the Braves and the Dodgers yet, but you got to be feeling pretty good where they're at so far.
Yeah. Before I continue, shout out to Trey Mancini of the Cubs. Of course, he was with Houston last year from the trade deadline on through the World Series. Dusty Baker delivered his World Series ring to him before Monday's game. So that was a class act to that Astros organization. So Trey Mancini gets his ring from last year when he was with a member of the Astros. Now back to this Cubs team. Again, I want to ask you and our listeners and viewers out there, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your answers. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you Cubs fans. Who should be the closer? We thought it was going to be Michael Fulmer. He stunk it up, so he's no longer doing it. Should it be Azalea? I don't know. Albert Azalea. I don't know. You had Brad Boxberger there for a while. He's not doing it anymore. Who's going to be the closer? We assume that if the Cubs stay competitive, which we both think that they will, Jed Hoyer and GM Carter Hawkins is going to have to make some moves to bolster up their bullpen at the trade deadline. But as of right now, who's your closer? We all know in the long run, Lakina, closer by committees do not work.
Well, yeah, and I think unfortunately the Cubs are seeing that right now. So we can maybe find somebody, hopefully in that group that I just mentioned. Hopefully, maybe someone could take that reins, for the Cubs until maybe Jed and Connor they do trade somebody eventually. So
there's a Mark Leiter Jr. as you mentioned. I know he's been given the opportunity these last couple of games, but is it him?
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
He's actually been okay. So it'll be interesting to see what they what David Ross does. Some people are actually also questioning Ross's managerial skills again. I mean, look, it's going to be interesting, like I said, to see especially if the Cubs start to go into free fall, which I don't think they will. I think they will have a chance to win. Looking at the rest of their schedule for the rest of the month, but I think, look, the Cubs are kind of right there to win that division, so I'm not going to worry too much about them right now. Now, if they keep going, and by the end of this month, we'll then I'll probably start worrying. But right now, I'm not. So I think people need to kind of just relax.
All right, to the South Side, Lakina, the Chicago White Sox, aka the South Side Hitmen, They scored 15 runs and hit 6 home runs in the first 2 games. Of the series against the Cleveland Guardians, and they won both those games yesterday, Thursday. For those who listen back on the replay at War Media podcast, they failed to sweep the Guardians. The Guardians are in the same position as the White Sox in terms of injuries and people coming in and out of the lineup. The White Sox failed to sweep the Guardians yesterday. They lose by the score of 3-1. Dylan Cease actually pitched okay, even though he only struck out 3 batters or walked none. The Sox had the bases loaded early in that second inning, did not scratch not 1 run. Lakina has been a problem all year long that the Sox, they can get them on, they just can't get them across home plate. And as we said before, even 2 years ago when they won this badass, and I mean badass in terms of garbage, AL Central Division, when they hit home runs, they usually win. Gavin Sheets and Jay Berger carry the White Sox through this series against Cleveland. On a positive note, the Sox do win a series. They still have a long way to go to climb back to 500. It's not as bad as it looks right now. They still have a long way to go. But Jake Berger and Gavin Sheets offensively has carried this White Sox group. Tim Anderson, he needs to get it together via the glove. His error cost the White Sox the game yesterday. And besides what I mentioned, them not scoring with the bases loaded early in the game.
I'm kind of up there with Sox fans. Those Sox fans that say, well, they still got a shot. You're 13 games under 500. I know I saw Peter Gambus' tweet mentioning the 05 Astros. They came back. They made the playoffs. Well, look, they got swept in the AL in the NL in the ALDS. So that kind of goes against your own argument. So. And look, I mean, they had to deal with Jose Ramirez. Josh Naylor got hurt in the first game, so I'm kind of like, okay, you didn't have to, you should have swept them. You should have swept them, I should say. You should have swept the Guardians because they didn't have a couple of their top guys. So with that said, I mean, it's 1 step forward, maybe 2 steps forward, maybe like 5 steps back. Love guys on base, that era by TA. I know TA's been, there's been a lot of issues with TA on here this last week, for various things. So I'm not, look, we're almost in mid-May. I know people want to say that we can't do the whole, well, it's early in the season.
We did that last year. We're not doing it again.
They played 45 games already. Like they can't, you can't do the whole, like, well, it's still early. I mean, you can't do that. And I feel like that's the crutch of some Sox fans. I know I heard Gavin Sheets say on the podcast, that White Sox podcast he did with NBC Sports Chicago's Chuck Garfien, a good man. Hey, look, we still got a shot. Really, Gavin? Really?
That's what he's supposed to say.
Yeah,
whether you believe it or not, that's on you. But what else he's going to say? We don't have a shot.
I mean, look,
come on.
But I think also at the same time, though. I mean, let's not play a little bit of, let's not be in denial here. I mean, you're still in a big hole. You're 7 games out in your division. You're not gonna, if you don't win the division, you're not gonna get one of the wild card spots. I mean, that's one division's already got the whole thing unlocked, so that's not gonna happen. So like. I mean, like it's just you're not you're at best a mediocre team, and yes, you're in a bad division, but this is one of those times where you should have swept them when they were shorthanded and you couldn't do it.
But here's a silver lining in this, Lakina. Yes, they should have swept them, but you still won another series. I believe that's 3 series wins in the month of May, and you lost 2. That was to Houston, and that was to Kansas City. You lost 3 out of 4 last week, but. This team is still in the prime position to make the run. I'm with you, Lakina. Just like last year, can they compete for a wild card? No, they have to win this division. Minnesota will get to them after the break, but watching their series against the Dodgers, do I see any inspiring baseball from them? No. Cleveland, you saw what the Sox did. At least they took 2 out of 3. Do I see any inspiring baseball from them right now? No. I know Detroit's playing over their head. Do I believe in them? No. In Kansas City, who the Sox will see this weekend for 3. Are they playing inspiring baseball? No. Do they have a shot? Yes, they do. But the Sox got to look at themselves in the mirror and start to turn this thing around. And it looks like they're starting to get a couple of guys back. Garrett Crochet, who had Tommy John surgery last year, pitched well yesterday, a 1-2-3 inning in their loss against Cleveland. And it looks like they may get Liam Hendricks back as early as Monday when the Sox go on a road trip to Cleveland.
I'll believe it when I see it because I'm not seeing it. So, it is what it is with them. Now we're gonna take a really quick break. We'll talk to the rest of MLB, for a little bit. Clearly some big moves. It looks like that maybe one team might be making a big move. One team's starting to call back to earth, and also too we'll talk about the Stanley Cup finals. Well, not finals, but the conference finals. You got one game that I think literally just ended like 2 hours ago. I think that we'll talk about that. I'm being not being facetious here because it's just the truth. But got a lot to do still. Coming up. That's in this hour. Keenan McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We got more baseball talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Friday Fun Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here at Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mr. Keenan McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, and I can't be on the IG.
We have 85 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Let's talk about some of the stuff that caught your eye on the MLB front this week.
Let's start in the great city of New York City. We'll start with the Bronx Bombers first. The New York Yankees on the road take 3 or 4 from Toronto. Aaron Judge went crazy with the bat throughout that series here. I believe he hit 4 home runs in that series. To be exact, I watched a couple of those games from earlier this week. Of course, that first game, the Toronto Blue Jays accused Aaron Judge of having the wandering, cheating eye, which is all to do about nothing. Then the next day, the third base coach of Toronto gets into with Aaron Boone, the manager of the Yankees, and then words were exchanged. And then, of course, Toronto's pitching imploded. I know they got the shutout win the other night. I believe that was on Wednesday, 3-0. But the Yankees held firm and took 3 out of 4. The offense came alive. Their bats came alive. Lakina, do you believe that the Yankees are now back?
I think. Well, I don't think they went anywhere. I think they got more of like kind of the Dodgers we'll talk about in a second. They also had a lot of new players. They've had some injuries and such. It looks like remember Boone was out for a little bit, so it was it's good to see that they're starting to kind of get it going and whatnot. Like I said, could they be back? Sure. I mean, look, there's still a ways out there, about 6.5 back of the AL East. So still got a lot to do there, grind to make up in that front. But as long as their pitching's been really solid, and of course, as long as Garrett Cole, as long as Judge is doing his thing and some other guys supporting, I think they can definitely get back up there. I think.
Okay. And what did you think about the whole Aaron Judge situation? Wasn't much to do about nothing, or do you think it was something too that people are not paying attention to?
I think it's just a rivalry trying to stay in the course and such. I mean, you saw what happened with Max Scherzer with the Mets, and it's definitely kind of one of those things where you're sort of like, okay, you know what? I mean, look, it happens. These are rivals, division rivals. You're going to have these type of things. We'll see what happens when they get they meet at the at Yankee Stadium. So I'm not worried about it. Look, it is what it is, but it's fine. I mean, I'm not like I said, I'm not gonna freak out about that little exchange. I mean, it was funny, unintentionally, and it was fine. So I don't care.
Let's go to Queens, New York, and talk about the other team in NYC, and that's the New York Mets. One midday host on WFAN said that he's given Mets manager Buck Showalter 30 days to turn it around, or he should be fired. Talking about Buck Showalter. I don't know where this host is coming from, but okay, I get him trying to get listeners and trying to spark some change within the Mets clubhouse. But I don't know if the Mets listen to that guy or not. But the Mets took 2 out of 3, including winning the finale yesterday, 3-2, winning late over the Tampa Bay Rays.
I mean, I think that was, I don't know if that guy had anything to do with it. I'm sure he's going to try to take credit for it. But look, I mean, the Mets are going to, well, no, he's going to, they're going to, how New Yorkers are. But yeah, I mean, look, you went 2 out of 3 against Tampa. You break that streak of 1-run games with them. Like you needed that win, especially. So we'll see if they are starting to turn around. They're still, there's still a ways out. They're still about 6 games back of Atlanta. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of, get things, going there. I know that, that they've called up, that the Mets are going to call up veteran catcher Gary Sanchez, and we'll see him this weekend. So yeah, I mean, look, we'll wait and see. I mean, let's wait and see how they play Cleveland this weekend, so we'll see, if they can win 2 out of 3 there. But look, like I said, you got a nice little boost there, but we'll see if they can keep it up.
Mariners take care of the Red Sox on the road. Also, too, the Braves take care of the Texas Rangers, and the Baltimore Orioles in the Anaheim Angels split a 4-game series this week, and of course, the Angels won the series finale late yesterday. Are you still a big believer in the Baltimore Orioles? As I said before, as a fan, I love watching their offense with Cedric Mullins, Allie Rushman, and Gunnar Henderson. That's a stacked lineup over there in Baltimore by the Beltway.
Yeah, but they're 20-16. I think no one thought that they would get this good of a record this early on. But again, we'll see if they can keep it up. I mean, they face Toronto in Toronto this weekend. We'll see if they can win the series there. It's gonna be interesting. The pitching is still a little suspect. I know they made a couple moves during the offseason, but that still might be an issue for them to kind of keep them from going to that next level. But we'll see. I mean, for me, I think Baltimore is a fun team to watch. They'll score runs, like it might be the over under on the runs that will be scored during this series against Toronto. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, as for the Angels, I mean, Ohtani pitched again. He also hit his 10th home run yesterday. They're 2-0 when Trout and Ohtani homer in the same game. 8-3 since the start of the season. So last season, I should say. So yeah, I mean, look, yeah, we'll see if they can keep it up. Like I said, I don't think consider the division that they're in. We'll see that. I think the Astros starting to heat up a little bit. We'll see where Texas is. I know they've had some injuries. I know they had a kind of an up and down week, this week. But look, I think that Western, the AL West division is going to be right there. I know Seattle's right there as well. They're only 5 back, so yeah, it's definitely going to be a kind of a slugfest here in that division. So we'll see how these divisions are by the end of next month.
And speaking of the NL Central, we talked about it with the Cubs earlier. The St. Louis Cardinals look like they're starting to turn things around slowly. They take 2 out of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers early this week. I know they started the 4-game weekend series. The series started last night against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Cardinals turned it around once again. They beat the Dodgers 11-8. Wilson Contreras 2 home runs. Congratulations to Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers. He hit his 300th career home run last night in St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's his first home run this season. Talk about Contreras, his first home run. I know. Well, I guess he's no longer in the doghouse, maybe. But again, I'll wait. I mean, I'll wait and see if they can, if they win this series against the Dodgers before I can say that they're officially back. I mean, they're in a pretty big hole themselves. I mean, it's not as big. They're only 6 games back in the NL Central. But like I said, we'll see. But like I said, I mean, it's going to be very interesting, especially once this Dodgers series. If they win the series, great. If they win the series, okay, that's fine too. But if they lose in the rest of the series, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're back.
Yeah, staying with the NL West, of course, the Dodgers, as we just mentioned, they take 2 out of 3 from the Minnesota Twins. But on the flip side, Arizona takes 2 out of 3 in Oakland, and four. I just had it up here. These damn computers. Oh, the San Diego Padres. How worried should you worry about your team if you're a Padres fan? They lose 2 out of 3 to the Kansas City Royals. The only game that they won, which was on Monday, they almost pitched a no-hitter.
Yep. So, yeah, I saw that. And look, I mean, unfortunately, we're seeing this with the Dodgers. I mean, they spend all this money. They're kind of been up and down. You lose 2 out of 3 to KC. I mean, at this point, you're kind of like you're wondering, what's going on here. But again, we'll have to wait and see with the Padres. Like I said, still a ways to go. Dodgers are heating up. The Diamondbacks actually had an okay week. The Giants are starting to kind of get together a little bit. They've won 3 in a row. So again, they could catch up. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see if they can actually do it.
Back to the NL East, you were mentioning about the Braves earlier. They're taking care of the Texas Rangers. The Miami Marlins, they sweep away the Washington Nationals. Now they're 22-21 in the right in the thick of the NL East race. Are you a believer in them, or are you also wait and see mode with the Fighting Fish?
Well, yeah, I mean, you swept against one of the worst teams in the league, so yeah, of course, it would be kind of silly if you didn't sweep the Nationals. But look, like I said, I mean, they have solid hitting, solid pitching with Alcantara and some of the other guys. So, I mean, I'll have to wait and see again. I'm kind of waiting to see more with them as well because they did this last year. They were up there last year for a little bit, and they got, they fell back to earth. So I'm not a believer in them just yet. But we may be seeing some guys get traded. Maybe during before the trade deadline, we'll see if Alcantara gets traded. We'll see if D. Gordon gets traded. But yeah, I'm kind of like I said, I'm not a believer in the Marlins yet. We'll see. Their schedule actually gets a little bit tougher this month, so we'll have to see what happens with that.
Anything else that caught your eye from the world of baseball this week?
I gotta think. I mean, not really. I mean, like I said, Dodgers Cardinals series. I'm looking forward to that. The rest of that, we'll get to that in a second. But I mean, for me, I guess if you're thinking about where your team is right now, I mean, let's wait till the end of the month before we, start saying, okay, this team's for real, this team's not for real, because you really don't know at this point, with the way the schedule is set up now. We'll have to wait and see if they can kind of, everyone can, will Baltimore still be up here? Will the Marlins still be up here? So we'll have to wait and see what that. Now, going into this weekend schedule, you got Arizona and Pittsburgh, Milwaukee and Tampa, New York and the Yankees, I should say, and the Reds. That should be interesting interleague series. We talked about the Cubs going, being in Philly to face the Phillies, first game of that weekend series. Detroit and Washington, and the first game of the Apple TV Plus game. Those who in Baltimore and Toronto, that first game of that series, you're gonna have to find other ways to watch it. Unless you got MLBTV.com, you got to stream it on Apple TV Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the Guardians and the Mets, and also too the second game of the Apple TV Plus, I guess, regional coverage. Those of you in Seattle and Atlanta, you're gonna have to watch the first game of that series on Apple TV Plus.
Okay, and finishing the rest of the weekend schedule, we'll have Colorado at Texas, Oakland at Houston, the AL West matchup. Houston should take care of Oakland. Of course, speaking of Houston, they'll get back Jose Altuve. He'll make his 2023 debut tonight in the Astros uniform. Also, the Dodgers and the Cardinals will, as Lakina said, will resume their 4-game weekend series from St. Louis. You have the Minnesota Twins traveling to Los Angeles staying in Los Angeles, but this time to take on the Anaheim Angels. We have the Boston Red Sox at struggling San Diego this weekend. And we had the Fighting Fish, the Miami Marlins at by the Bay to take on the San Francisco Giants. And your national TV schedule looks like this for tomorrow, Saturday, your Fox Saturday night baseball game of the week. Most of the country, I believe, including here in Chicago as well, will get the as my damn computer should show up here. The Dodgers at the Cardinals. That's at 6:15 Chicago time. While the rest of you will get to see Lakina Seattle Mariners travel to Atlanta to take on the Braves. And then, of course, the Sunday TV game on Peacock at 10:35 a.m. Central Standard Time will feature the New York Yankees and the Cincinnati Reds. And Sunday Night Baseball will have the Cleveland Guardians at the New York Mets. Jeff McNeil of the Mets will be mic'd up for sound.
That should be a fun one because he's hilarious. On FS1 on Saturday tomorrow, FS1 at 3:10, you got the Brewers and the Rays. That should be a fun series all around. You'll get the second game of that series. So yeah, and that is your schedule for the MLB this weekend.
All right, you listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out with you for another Friday Fun Friday edition. All right, Lakina, let's do that hockey for a couple minutes. The conference finals are underway, at least in the eastern side of the bracket. The Florida Panthers, as we talked about that team for the last few weeks, ever since the playoffs started, I asked you and our guy Greg Boyson, who covers the Hawks for CHGO, does this team remind you of the 2012 Los Angeles Kings team? I think both of you are in agreement in saying yes. Well, last night they get it done against your Carolina Hurricanes, Lakina. The final in 4 overtimes, 3-2, taking as the Florida Panthers take an early 1-game-to-none series lead in the best-of-7 at Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, thanks to Matt Tkachuk, who hit a nice little wrister there on the game winner. There was 13 seconds left in the 4th overtime, so it could have gone to 5 overtimes. With 79 minutes and 47 seconds of overtime in Game 1, it was the 6th longest game in Stanley Cup playoff history. So if you were able to stay up for most of that game, kudos to you. I actually watched a little bit of it. Yeah. So so you saw that as soon as Tkachuk scored that game winner, he ran right. He and the other Panthers went straight to the locker room. They were probably sleepy.
You think?
Well, you know what?
There's so much pizza and bananas and energy drinks you can consume.
Well, yeah, I think that was also past our buddy Wayne Gretzky's bedtime too. over at 10 p.m. I'm just saying, but on a serious note, though, I mean, look, both teams had their chances to end it. A couple of power plays on each side for those. I think the first 3 overtimes. I know that there was a goal that they thought the Panthers scored the goal in the first overtime, but then it didn't count because it was goalie interference. I think it was. We'll see what. I know some people may open that didn't think it was, but it was goal interference, so that it was no goal. And I think with everything else, if you're the Panthers, the Hurricanes, let's just say you had your chance to win it, and it's just this. Hopefully, you'll take this day to kind of get reset and recharged, and just try to even the series tomorrow.
Yeah, that's all thing you can do for Carolina. Just take advantages of those chances that they're given to you. As we say all the time in playoff hockey, Lakina, scoring comes at a premium. Each mistake is magnified times 1,000, and each mistake you make, it could cost you giving up a goal to the other team. So, but watching, unless it involves your favorite team, Lakina, Stanley Cup overtime playoff hockey is the best unless it involves your favorite team. And we saw that in the last decade around here with the Chicago Blackhawks. They lost a couple, but they won the majority of the games they played in overtime. It's just it's a nail biter. It's exciting. You had to be damn near perfect. Whoever makes a mistake, you may give it up on the other end for the game winning goal. So you see players dig down deep and playing their best. It's nothing like it, when it does not involve your favorite team. It's nothing like it. I think it's the best playoffs in the out of the 4 major sports.
Well, especially too. So yeah, I mean, this could have gone on another. If Kachuk had not scored that goal with 13 seconds left, it could have gone a little bit longer. So they
Stay tuned for Good Morning America.
Yeah, I'll say. Well, I mean, or Charm marathon too. Remember, this is a TNT we're talking about. So they do for the Charm marathon every weekday on morning on TNT. But I mean, look, in this case, I think the Panthers, I think that they were just they just made the plays when they needed to, and that Kachuk had that wrister to score that game winner. So the best you could do if you're a Hurricanes, just try to forget about it. You had your chances, take advantage, and you don't want to go down to Florida, being down 0-2, especially when you had a shot to win both those games. So try to reset, try to re-energize it. I know it's going to be hard after playing a nearly 6-hour game, but you got to do it. You done what you got to do, so it's fine. Now going.
I'm sure both those teams are having video sessions today. I'm not getting back on that ice after they're playing nearly 6 damn hours. No. This is a video session day. Get your rest. Whoever has the injuries, get taped up, get iced up. We're going back at it again tomorrow. So, and that's usually how these things go. Tonight, Lakina, on ESPN Plus at 7:30 Chicago time, we'll have Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Stars and the Las Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights will have home ice advantage for this one. Who takes the series and why?
This is a tough one. I know that they split their series during the regular season. I mean, I guess the Knights can finally. I'll say the Knights because of their 4th time going to the conference final, and they've only been in existence for about 8 years now. I think the 5th time will probably be the charm for them because I think they finally got the players to do it. They picked up Jack Eichel. They got Chandler Stevenson, some of the other great veteran talent that they picked up. It'll be interesting to see if Jonathan Quick becomes a factor here because of the fact that he's been through this before with the Kings, and we'll see if they can bring that experience in with them as well. Now the Stars, I mean, look, Jason Robertson, I mean, you gotta think he's gonna be the guy that kind of has to carry, not carry them, but sort of like kind of have sort of the answer to with that. So, and also to Ollinger, I mean, at Oltinger, I should say, at goalie, he's gonna have to stand on his head too because
he did a great job in Game 7 the other night against Seattle.
He did. If he can do that against what he did against Seattle in that Game 7, if he does it this series, I think the Stars, it wouldn't really be an upset, but I think the Stars could pull it out if they can get that kind of goaltending that they got in that last Game 7 against Seattle.
I think offensively, Dallas has a little bit more talent than Las Vegas. Yes, Vegas can put up some goals too. We saw that in that last series win against the Edmonton Oilers. Dallas can put up offensive, but they're not the tougher team. Las Vegas is the tougher team. They really could play with you within the trenches, and sometimes we had to play the dump and chase game, dump the puck into the corners. I think Vegas could do that better than the Dallas Stars, and I think it's going to come down to the intangibles. Now the goalie for Dallas, he's got to steal a win or two in this series. And if they could do that, I think Dallas Stars could pull out the upset. But I'm with you, Lakina. I think it's going to go at least 6 games, but I'm picking Vegas in 7 because I think they're the much tougher team than Dallas is.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'll say we'll see. I mean, they can bruise you up, pretty good if you're Vegas. So I think if you're Vegas, you want to try to set that tone early with the toughness and such. So again, it'll be interesting to see what both teams do here because I think this is pretty much for the most part, an evenly matched series. But again, so of course you can watch the Western Conference exclusively on ESPN. Of course, the Eastern
TNT.
Conference.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for cutting you off.
Really?
But
I know what. Yeah, because come on now. The Western Conference will be on ESPN, as I said, and you can watch the Eastern Conference exclusively on TNT. So going through that scheduling for this week, of course, tonight 7:00. I said you got Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. You can see that at 7:30 on ESPN and ESPN Plus.
Yeah, I deserve that one. Bad.
It's okay. It's
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We're having a whole lot of fun here on this another Friday edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. I deserve that one. If you want to comment on that last sequence there or any other sports topics that we have on the table, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get the bump on the scoring field. Yes, I'm still working on that. Every once in a while, I have a tendency to jump the gun sometimes, but my brain doesn't cooperate with my heart, and that's bad. So I apologize for that.
It happens. It's fine. It's cool. I've done it too, so it don't feel bad. Saturday, game 2 for Saturday tomorrow, or Saturday if we're gonna be listening to this on Award Media. You got Florida and Carolina. That's at 7:00 on TNT. Then you got game 2 of Dallas and Vegas. That's gonna be on ABC at 2:00 and also streamed on ESPN Plus. And that's your schedule for the NHL Conference Finals as we're in the Final Four here, Sid, on ice.
Yes, it's always exciting around this time of year for the Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I know we have a couple minutes left before we close up for hour number 1 and open up with hour number 2 with our guy Mateo Mayorga from 5 Reasons Sports. He'll be coming up to lead off hour number 2 to talk NBA playoffs. But Lakina, one of our colleagues and good friends of this program, Second City Sports, he's a radio veteran for 43 years. The last 26 of them has been spent here in the Chicago market. He worked at 670 The Score. In the last several years, he's worked at WBBM News Radio 780. We're talking about the great Mr. Dave Kerner. He's going to retire this weekend. His last broadcast is today. He announced it a couple weeks ago. You can still follow him on Twitter at Dave Kerner. Like I said, he's been on this program a couple of times before. We're going to have him on again soon. To check on him to see how retirement is going for him. He's going to have to appear on another good friend of the show, George Offman's podcast, to tell me a story I don't know. We'll probably let him do that first, and then we'll bring him back on.
Yeah, I'll say, we want to let him, I know he's got some great stories to talk about.
Right.
So, of course, that's okay. Of course, we've had George on, too, when we were doing this in the podcast form. Just so much fun. You guys can check that out through our YouTube as well. Now, look, Dave's, like you said, a good friend of ours. We grew up listening to him. Remember, he was at the Score first. They infamously did the trade because Zach Zayman was doing the sports updates on the 8th. Well, I think on the teens, I think. And then of course they did the switch where Dave started doing it. He'd been doing it ever since. And of course Zayman going to the Score and some of the stuff he's done since then with them as well. So I think I'm glad that Dave's been able to leave on his own terms because we saw in the last few years, especially with the pandemic at the height of that and folks having to get buyouts, folks getting fired. I'm glad in Dave's case he was able to kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm going to end on my terms. I'm going to, I'm going to, do my thing. 43 years he's been doing this. I mean, he's only 45. He's only 45, folks.
Yeah.
He does too. He made the papers.
But he's a constant professional. He brought the knowledge and the information to the listener. I remember him when he started out, when he was brought here to Chicago. He started out at 670 Score. He hosted some of those. He was a fill-in host. He did some of the weekend shows, especially on Sunday mornings. You remember, Lakina, before 670 Score went to before they were 670, they went to 1120. They had some of those reporters do Sunday morning shows. Like J.C. Rogers did that slot back in the day. Of course, Dan Bernstein did. And, of course, the various other hosts did the weekend shifts. And Dave Kerner was a part of that, of course. And he went on to do some great reporting for 670 Score, like him, his predecessors before, George Offman, Dan Bernstein, and, of course, Mike Greenberg, who's over at ESPN now. He followed that tradition, and he set the starting for reporting on Chicago Sports Radio. Of course, the stuff that he's been doing at WBBM for years. He continued to do great work. So we just wanted to give Dave Kerner his flowers while he's still with us, obviously. 2 thumbs up on a great job, and good luck to you on your retirement. And we definitely going to have him back on again. We'll definitely have to get some more stories out of him, but we'll let our good colleague and friend of the show, George Hoffman, do that first.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I know I saw your text him saying that he's in. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll probably get him back on maybe this summer or something. He says it's going to be rare, looking at the 8s at his clock, like, oh wait, I'm not going to be doing that anymore. So it may take us some time, like with a lot of folks who retire, it may take, some time for him to get used to it, but I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll find another passion of his that he wants to. Maybe he'll do a podcast too. Who knows? We'll see. But
you never know. Yeah.
You never know. So we want to give our happy retirement to one of our good buddy, Dave Kerner. And we'll definitely have him back on the show soon. We salute you, my friend.
Yeah, we salute you, Mr. Dave Kerner. All right, stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with from 5 Reasons Sports, Mr. Mateo Mayorga and Miss Christine the Queen Manika, along with her fiance, Chris Gilman. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Second City Sports live and live in color on Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on this Friday, Fun Friday edition. We're live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakina McGee is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Makina McGee on the Twitter and Makina's going to get the IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to hit us up in the comment section, especially for our next guest, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. Lakina, let's not waste any time. The NBA playoffs are happening right now. 2 games in the books in the Western Conference. 1 game already in the books in the Eastern Conference Finals. And to help us talk about the playoffs and perhaps some little bit of NBA draft news as well, not involving our Chicago Bulls, we're going to bring on a new guy to the scene. His name is Mateo Mayorga. He's a columnist for FanSided and for 5 Reasons Sports. Let's not waste any time, Lakina. Let's bring him in. It's Mr. Mateo Mayorga. Mateo, good afternoon, my friend. Welcome to the show.
Sydney, Lakina, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
How can people follow you on social media, and where can they catch your work?
I'm really mostly on Twitter these days. You can find me at Mateo Mayorga 23. My column at 5 Reasons Sports is called Mateo's Hoop Diary, and at FanSided, I'm at the King James Gospel. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem. We'll start up. We'll go backwards and we'll talk about the recent game that was played last night. Game 2 between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. Denver takes the commanding 2-0 series lead. They take home court revenge. The Lakers played much better in Game 2, at least through the first 3 quarters. But it was the Jamal Murray show for Denver in that fourth quarter, hitting 3 3-pointers. And LeBron James injured his ankle late in that game last night. Now the Lakers go back home to the stadium formerly known as Staples Center. We're not going to call it that corporate name on this show, but the Lakers still have some work to do. They got to win 4 out of the possible next 5 games against Denver. What stood out to you in the Denver win last night?
Well, Anthony Davis did not have a very good showing on the offensive end. He was doing as best as he could on the defensive end, at least in the first half. For as much heat as the Joker gets for being a poor defender, I thought he was matching up well with Anthony Davis, forcing some misses. The Lakers had, I think, a 3-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Granted, there's 12 minutes left in the game. A 3-point lead is nothing. It could be vanquished in seconds. But really, what you saw from Jamal Murray late in that game was spectacular. He had 22 points. He only missed 1 shot. The Lakers, I thought, defended him well. He was actually hitting some crazy shots. LeBron was trying to blitz when Jamal was trying to wrap around some screens to bother him with some length, but Jamal was hitting some tough shots. It had worked earlier in the game when he had blitzed the pick and roll by forcing some turnovers, but Jamal's a big time player. He went to another level. The Joker had, kind of carried them for 3 quarters. Someone else stepped up big. Something I had seen the Lakers do is sag off of Aaron Gordon, who his shot has kind of disappeared a bit in this series, but they were doing that to clog the driving lanes inside of the paint. But it was really an incredible performance from Jamal that really saved the day. The narrative would have been today had the Lakers won. Joker didn't get enough from his squad, and today it's Nuggets win Game 2. Jamal Murray shines. So, the NBA playoffs are sometimes illogical, but it was a pleasure to watch. And right now, the series does shift back to Los Angeles. I know at the former Staples Center, now Crypto.com Arena. I'm ashamed to say it myself, Sydney, but no team has lost. Well, the home team hasn't lost there, so. This could very well be another series that after 4 games is tied up.
Well, yeah, because I think people forget that. I know, yes, Denver hasn't lost at home as of last night, but the people forget the Lakers have not lost at home either, like you said. So that could be the difference here. Now, the fact that AD had his struggles from basically from everywhere, from the field, especially 4 for 15, that's not going to do it for you. He was 1 for 3 from 3. LeBron thought he was Steph Curry. He actually now has missed, I think, like 19 in a row 3-pointers. So unfortunately, that's not working for him at the moment. So what do you think the Lakers have to do to get back in this series?
Oh, well, you got to keep getting what you're getting from Rui Hachimura, because in the first game, I think he was like 8 of 11. In the second game, he was like 8 of 10. He has been one of the difference makers that has brought him back in the first game and really kept him hanging around the second game. You got to also expect, you actually need him to keep this up. But now, since it's not a consecutive game you're expecting Anthony Davis to go off, he might in Game 3 for the Los Angeles Lakers, being in your building with your visual cues, your role players usually respond a little better. Austin Reeves, he has to do a little better job of, defending the ball handlers up top. I think the Lakers, what they have to do is set higher pickup points against the Nuggets as 3-point shooters in transition and in the half court to not allow them to get so burned from that area. But really, your stars have to show up. LeBron, like to your point where he missed a bunch of 3-point shots. 3 of his misses were in the fourth quarter, and I thought he was getting inside the paint fairly well. And usually when you see players late in a game when they've played a lot of minutes take deep shots, to me, it's because their legs are tired and they're trying to make the home run play. Really, you got to not allow yourself to get burned in transition, because the Nuggets with the hit-ahead pass will burn you there. But the Lakers, they need their stars to do a little more late in the game.
Going back to Denver, Mateo, you mentioned a little bit about the supporting cast earlier, besides Jamal Murray.
Right.
Aaron Gordon has been MIA so far through these first two games, but Michael Porter Jr. and Bruce Brown, I thought, played better last night. Of course, Porter Jr. had 16 and Bruce Brown had 12. Talk to us a little bit more about the Denver supporting cast. Let's not forget Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as well, the former Laker from a couple years ago when they won the title.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, because he's someone who is very good switching onto guards and even forwards who are a little bit stronger and bigger than him. He's got great instincts and great hands, but the other guys like Michael Porter Jr., when he is healthy, he is Denver's best marksman, I think, by far. There was one crazy shot he hit last night in transition where the pass was a little in front of him, and he stopped it with his left hand to get like a gather dribble, and he pulled up from the corner, and it was straight nylon. It was beautiful. But Bruce Brown is another one who is really, he was the best signing from last year's free agency, because right now he has the best deal in all of the NBA. And fortunately for him, he has a player option where he can hit the market this summer and command some more money. But he is someone who can get you like 12 to 15 points without a play run for him, because he runs so hard in transition. He's always cutting towards the basket in the half court, and he's also trying to stay active around the rim when his teammates miss for a putback. Bruce Brown is like the ultimate utility blade. Every championship team needs a guy like him. He also can play fairly well on the defensive side of the court. So I'm a big fan of him. Am I missing somebody? No, but like Aaron Gordon, I think he was 5 of 10 last night. You need to see him get a little bit more involved if they're gonna disrespect him by sagging off. Personally, what I'd like to see him do is attack, the man who is disrespecting him with the space by going towards him and trying to set a pin down so a sniper can come around behind him, and he can use his body as a shield. But right now the Nuggets are playing very well. It's not just Nikola Jokic and the late game heroics of Jamal Murray. They have the deepest team in the league right now, and their coach has probably not gotten enough credit in the national media. He's done a very good job, Mike Malone.
Well, let's switch gears and talk about the Eastern Conference for a second, Mateo. Game 2's tonight. The Heat take the 1-0 lead over the Celtics. The Heat actually scored 48 points in the third, which is 46 points, I should say, which is the most that they have scored in one quarter in all their playoff history, which is a little bit crazy to think about it. But they're getting it from Butler, they're getting it from Bam. You got Max Strauss doing his thing. Gabe Vincent, and even Kyle Lowry has hit a couple of big shots. So, what do you think the Heat have to do to try to? Well, it's a twofold question. What do you think he has to take a 2-0 lead, and what do you think the Celtics got to do to try to even this series?
Well, I'm going to start with with Boston first, and right now they do need to do a much better job of protecting the 3-point line. They were over-helping too much on guys that they shouldn't have, and this is not just a problem they had in the last game. This is a problem I've seen, across the league. Guys not understanding the math late in games and leaving a shooter open on the wing or at the top of the key to help on somebody in the post. The pass is always faster than the man running, and it burns defenses when they want to gamble like this too much. I do not think the Celtics need to do that, because they have the defenders to play very well in straight up man-to-man coverage. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, Horford, Smart. These guys have the instincts, the IQ, the length to really make it bothersome for their matchup on the other end of the floor. But right now for the Celtics, their level of desperation is certainly much higher than Miami's, because they've lost game 1, and going down 0-2 in your building is not a death sentence, but it very well could be. And to pointing out something, 6 years ago, the Celtics went down 0-2 to the Bulls in round one, and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Al Horford were on that team that came back to win that series. But every series is different. Jimmy Butler was on the other side, and his team is much deeper this time around. Of course, the Celtics are too, but what the Heat need to do is they need to get another standout performance from Jimmy. Bam Adebayo needs to be tremendous on the defensive end, bothering guys like Brown, Tatum, Smart. He was really someone who switched on to almost everybody and, was giving them some problems. But Miami's role players, someone like Max Strus, he had a very good game the last time out, and it's hard to do consecutively in such a hard place to win in TD Garden, especially when you know that the Boston Celtics are going to have a much higher, effort on the defensive end of the floor. Right now, Lakina, I'm really favoring the Celtics in this in the encounter for game 2, because really it does seem like a must-win game for them. Jimmy Butler has arguably been the best performer in the postseason right now, and it could very well be doom going into his building down 0-2.
We're hanging out with Mateo and Mayorga from 5 Reasons Sports and Fansided right here on Second City Sports, the Friday edition. Silly can't hang out with you right here on Sports Zone Chicago, discussing the NBA playoffs. Let's stay with that Boston Miami series, Mateo. I want to talk to you about the Miami Heat defense. I thought when the game was in the balance, they really did a great job of locking down the Celtics. And Reggie Miller on that broadcast on TNT the other night talked about how the Miami Heat defended that Boston screen and roll, because Boston killed Philadelphia with that. And Miami, I thought, defended it very well. I believe it was under 2.5 minutes to go after that timeout. Jimmy Butler stole the ball. Miami scored on the other end. And then the next 2 possessions, Jason Tatum got called for traveling on both possessions. And I said, not too many people. I hope people are paying attention to this, because the Miami Heat, as me and Lakina talked about in our last show, even though they scored 123 points, talking about Miami, they're not built to score that way. They're built to shut you down from the inside and out. Talk to us about the Miami Heat's team defense as a whole.
I'm really glad you brought up the pick and roll defense, and as a comparison or as a counter to Philadelphia's, because Philadelphia primarily defends that scheme or that action with the drop coverage, which is a big man pretty much defending the rim, somebody who is going to defend the rolling big man, or somebody who is with the ball who is looking to drive inside the basket. The way you beat that coverage is if you have a ball handler who can hit a mid-range shot or a triple. Now, what the Heat have been doing is, because they have guys like Bam, Jimmy, Caleb Martin, they can really blow up the coverage by blitzing and, not giving space to the ball handler or to the screener. Now, the Heat late in the game, they had, I think, around 6 steals. And I think 3 of those belonged to Jimmy Butler. And he had a total of 6 steals in total for the night. But really what we saw was, the Heat's defense take advantage of Boston's, careless ball movement. They weren't, passing, with the right, they weren't putting enough, hot sauce on the pass to their man on the wings. And Jimmy Butler, like a free safety or like a spy, was camping at the elbow, ready to intercept the pass. I think he also poked a ball free from Jaylen Brown when he was trying to post up Butler, but he was tremendous. Miami's defense in that quarter was, I think it's a little misleading when you just check out the field goal percentage, because 53% is a little high, but Miami was there, and moments of truth, forcing 6 turnovers. I'm sorry, 6 in the second half, but two in the fourth quarter. But really, that's wanting it more. That's just being more disciplined.
All right, so well, let's go outside the playoffs for a second. Of course, the NBA draft lottery was held on Tuesday. Unfortunately, the Bulls didn't get to the top 4. Yeah, thanks for leading us on, NBA. Yeah, thanks a lot. But of course, the Spurs, when the assuming they're going to take Victor Wembanyama from France, and could add a list to guys like David Robinson and Tim Duncan. So we'll see. And we know Pop's probably going to coach another till he's 100, I guess. And now that he's got looks like they're going to get this guy now. So, what do you think are some of the players to watch for in the draft that outside of Wembanyama?
Well, Brandon Miller for sure got length. He really seems like someone who at the pro level is going to turn into a 3-level scorer and has the length to be a super disruptive player on and off the ball defensively. I really like what he can do with his game. Scoot Henderson, he looks like someone who would probably go first in a lot of years. He has a very mature body for being so young. I really like guys who explode off of their first step and are unafraid to catch bodies, especially guys who are guards. So definitely those two. But another guy I really like is Keontae Johnson from Baylor. He has a little bit of I think Darius Garland in his game, a little bit taller at 6'4", and Darius in Cleveland is 6'1". But a lot of the moves that Darius has on the offensive end, like being being a gifted sniper and being someone who can also put the ball on the floor, I see a lot of this in Keontae, and he's someone who I have really liked as well.
Let's go over to the coaching, Mateo. I know
yes, sir.
We have about like 4, 5, 6 different head coaches who are free agents right now. We all know what happened with Doc Rivers a couple of days ago in Philadelphia. Mike Budenholzer from Milwaukee's out. Nick Nurse is out in Toronto. Monty Williams got the X last weekend in Phoenix. And Sam Cassell, the former assistant under Doc Rivers, former NBA player, his name has been out there for possible head coaching jobs. 2-part question here. One, does Sam Cassell finally get his chance to coach a team? And number 2, where does Nick Nurse land?
I'm not sure if Sam Cassell gets the job, but he would have my full endorsement to replace Doc in Philadelphia. He is someone who works with the players very hard to enhance their skills. He is someone who has paid his dues. He is someone very knowledgeable about the game, very well respected in the locker rooms. So I'd like to see him get a job, preferably, the 76ers job. But as far as Nick Nurse, I'm not sure. Nick Nurse, I cannot deny his basketball acumen, his knowledge, but really with a guy like him, you got to make sure it's the right fit for a group, because although he is very knowledgeable, sometimes when I've caught Nick Nurse on the sidelines watching games on TV, I haven't loved how he has been quick to verbally undress some of his players on the sidelines. And, sometimes, you could be right, but I don't believe, being so harsh publicly with a player is the right idea. If you have something to say to them, I think you should say it person to person. I think that also generates more respect and a tighter bond between the two. But Nick Nurse can be a little vicious, but he is someone who should be a top candidate, as well as Monty Williams and Jeff Budenholzer, because the latter two have, over the last 2 years, been the winningest head coaches in the league. And in Monty's case, got to an NBA Finals with 2 wins away. Jeff Budenholzer is an NBA champion. You certainly got a nice pool of qualified head coaches that should be hired. And at least for some, it may be in Monty's case, he could, take time off to, examine the field. Going back to Nurse, to, I want to honor your question. I have no knowledge of what he is thinking or what his people are saying, or really anything regarding his situation, but he should have a gig for sure.
Okay, the last couple of moments are with our new friend, 5 Reasons Sports, is Mateo Mayorga here on Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. So last question for me, Mateo. The Bulls, of course, they didn't get that top 4 pick, so now they don't have a first round pick. Everybody's playing armchair GM. It's sort of absurd these last few days. So what do you think the Bulls could do to improve, whether it's, trading Kobe White or re-signing Vooch? What say you about what the Bulls you think they could do?
Well, it really depends. What you really got to touch the pulse of the fans and see what their they're most comfortable with. Settling for the play-in is not good enough. You gave a lot up in the Vucevic trade, and it really hasn't yielded the results you've wanted it to so far. And I know nobody likes to hear the, rebuilding, but right now, if the Bulls wanted to, they have very nice pieces, and DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. It's going to take a while, but, losing the draft pick hurts. That, is really like a sledgehammer to the legs. It really takes away what it could have been a foundational piece. But really, you might just have to start over unless you're comfortable with being, just respectably competitive.
Last question for me, Mateo, and thank you for giving us your time to join us. Of course, this question has been asked a million times. I'll be the millionth person plus one. Of course, the Golden State Warriors were eliminated by the Lakers last weekend. Of course, Steph Curry is going to be back. Klay Thompson has 1 year left on his deal, along with Draymond Green. But their GM Bob Myers is a free agent after July 1st. Is the Warriors dynasty over, or will they try to run it back under Steph and Klay's timeline? What are your thoughts?
I think it's over if they keep the squad together as it's built. If you have Steph, you have direction, you have something to build around. But Klay Thompson, I hate to say it because he's one of my favorite players ever, is no longer the guy he was prior to the ACL and the Achilles injury. He's not as efficient on the offensive side, and defensively, he can't stay in front of the premier ball handlers and the stronger forwards at the point of attack anymore. Draymond Green is still a very good player defensively. Some teams could bother him by sagging off and giving him space, but why I think you have to move him is because what he did at the beginning of the year, punching Jordan Poole, I believe firmly he fractured the chemistry of this group. And, when you are someone who is the vocal leader, someone who is quick or can be quick to, motivate people by yelling instruction, it's hard for people to look at you the same way when you've hurt someone, because they might question, are you going to hit me this time? So all the vibes are off if Draymond is there. If you've got Steph, you've got certainly direction, but you got to build around Poole, Wiggins, and Stephen Curry. And then your window stays open.
All right, Mateo, thank you so much for joining us today, where people can follow you, find your great work and all that other good stuff.
Of course, one more time, 5 Reasons Sports, Mateo's Hoop Diary, and at the King James Gospel. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for joining us today. Great job and much continued success, young man. Great knowledge drop on the association, and we'll definitely have you back on this program again and down the line. Okay?
Absolutely, anytime. Call me.
All right, thank you, Mateo. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right.
All right, that's Mateo Mayorga from 5 Reasons Sports. Now, real quick before our buddies, Christine Manika and her fiancé, Chris Gilman, join us, let's talk about the schedule real quick. You got Game 2 of Miami and Boston. Of course, the Eastern Conference is exclusively on TNT. Want to make sure I get that right. At 7:30, to catch Game 2 tonight. And you can get, catch Game 3 of the Lakers and Nuggets. It goes to Los Angeles. The Game 3 tomorrow will be at 7:30 on ABC. And also to Sunday, Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals between Boston and Miami. That'll be on TNT at 7:30 as well. What do you think these series are going to be by the time we come back on Monday?
I think tonight and Sunday for the Boston series, I think Boston will take tonight's game, and I think Miami will take the next game, which the Game 3 will shift over to South Beach. So Boston wins tonight, Miami will win Game 3. As far as tomorrow, Saturday, for the Lakers-Denver series, Lakers are going to win tomorrow. We'll be talking about Denver 2-1 series lead when we commence on Monday.
I agree. Yeah, I think he will be up 2-1. I don't think the Celtics are gonna, being down 0-2 at home, especially. Folks are going to be pissed about that in Boston.
Yeah.
And I think the Lakers will win it too. I think, LeBron will do just enough. I think AD will do just enough. And I think the Nuggets, if they can catch them in the cold shooting nights, I think they can, that could probably happen. So we'll see what happens.
Yep, and also too, let's worry about LeBron James's ankle. As I mentioned during the interview with Mateo, he injured it late in the game last night, and so we know he's not practicing today. He's got to rest up and get ready for tomorrow. How effective can he be? We'll see. But this is all about Anthony Davis. It's all about Austin Reeves, and it's all about Dennis Schroeder, especially. He didn't have a great game last night. They see that supporting cast with that sense of desperation and urgency for the Lakers. They need to step it up big in front of their fans tomorrow night.
We'll see if they do just that. Okay, so we got two of our favorite people on deck. KXRB's Chris Gilman and her fiancé Chris Gilman will be joining us. We'll talk NFL playoff game. Will be going one playoff game this year will be going to streaming exclusively. We'll get their thoughts on that. As to all those little sports happenings, and of course, yes, we will preview the PGA Championship that's commencing in Oak Hill, this weekend. Actually, they're playing their second round right now as we speak. So. Lakita McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Christine and Chris coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Friday Fun Friday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. This is our last break of the day and our last break for the week. I'm Sid the Kid, which is me. That's Lakina McGee, which is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and KXRB on the IG.
This is our last break of the show. As I mentioned, we have less than 25 minutes or so left of this fabulous program before we head out for the weekend. If you want to get those last minute questions or comments in, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, let's not waste any time. We got a lot to catch up with them on and a lot to talk with them about.
Yes.
So, all right, of course, you see her every other week, in her great sports opinions. Also, too, we're also going to be joined once again by her fiance, who is a golfer, and of course, got a major championship going on right now up in upstate New York as we speak. So, from KXRB's Christine Manika and her fiance, golfer Chris Gilman. Guys, how are you?
Hey.
I can get them up. Darn it. Hold on.
Real quick with the finger, Lakina.
Sorry. Well, yeah, there we go. Sorry. My fingers.
There we go.
There we are. Yeah, I'll say my fingers are playing tricks on me for a second, guys. How are y'all?
How we doing?
We're doing great. How about you guys?
How about you guys?
Oh, we're great. Just he's figuring out the lighting.
Got good lighting. Got to. All right, now we'll start. We'll talk. I guess. Yeah, there we are. Let's say you got the lighting. I gotta make sure the lighting's good. Live. This is live television. Live, folks. We're doing it live here.
Did we lose the key now?
There we are. There we go. Now we're cooking. Okay, so we'll talk with baseball first, of course. Your favorite teams. Chrissy, we'll start with your White Sox. I did take 2 out of 3 for Cleveland. What do you think? Do you think they can, you right the ship, make a run at the Central? Oh, I think are we having Wi-Fi issues?
Yeah,
can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, Lakina. We cannot hear Christine or Chris.
Okay.
So we'll have to ask him to come back out and come back in. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you guys should go. Yeah. Sorry. We're doing it live, folks. Sorry about that. Yeah. Do a refresh and then we'll figure. We'll
have them back on in just a moment, Lakina. But we talked about earlier that the White Sox, of course, they still have a long way to go. 13 games under 500. They took care of Cleveland earlier this week, and they're getting a couple of guys back, as I mentioned in the first hour. Garrett Crochet pitched a 1-2-3 8th inning yesterday. He looks great, but remember, again, it's just his first outing in over a year because of the Tommy John surgery. And, of course, Liam Hendricks met with the media for the last couple of days. He worked out in the bullpen in Chicago yesterday. I think he's going to do that again over the weekend against Kansas City. He's supposed to make his debut on Monday against the Cleveland Guardians. It's the Sox head on a long road trip. They'll go through Cleveland next week, and they'll play a 4-game series at Detroit over next weekend before coming back here to Chicago to take on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So it looks like Liam Hendricks will make his debut in Cleveland on Monday if everything's a go. So as we said before, Lakina, things are looking on the up and up for a short term. But like you said, we got to see this thing long term. Can they stay consistent? That's been their problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's try this Let's try this again with Christine and Chris as we get a.
There we go. Yeah.
There we go. Now we're cooking.
Yes. Live and in living color, crystal clear.
Oh, I love it. There we are.
There we go.
There we go. I love it. So, all right, Chrissy, we'll start with your White Sox. What do you think? You think they can right the ship? They took 2 out of 3 against Cleveland. What do you think?
If they can keep going with that momentum, I'd say let them keep going for sure.
Yeah, they played the Kansas City Royals this weekend on the south side. Of course, Kansas City beat the brains in on the White Sox there in Kansas City a week ago, taking 3 out of 4. But it looks like the Sox are starting to get healthy a little bit. Jake Berger is back. Of course, he's been mashing home runs at, I'm not calling it that corporate name, but I'm calling it Sox Park. Of course, Gavin Sheets has been awakened as well via the home run. But Garrett Crochet returned yesterday, pitched one good inning. Of course, after having Tommy John surgery. And, of course, Liam Hendricks, it looks like if everything's a go, he's going to make his debut Monday in Cleveland.
And that's just awesome to hear, to know what it was like for him just a couple of months ago. And now he has significantly progressed from his cancer treatment. It's going to be amazing. I just hope he doesn't get emotional like he did during that AAA game where he's like, I just want to get angry. So maybe we'll all just boo him instead. Maybe that will get him angry.
Maybe that might help. That might kind of like, he might feed off that. So
right.
How he is. You kind of feeds on that, all the, he wants to get angry. So that's just how his mindset works. But now, Chris, your A's have actually been pretty solid. I mean, they split their series with Baltimore. They're right there to think of it in the AL West. Do you think they have a shot to perhaps maybe making it go at it?
It's been a tough since we spoke last. It's been a tough, I would say, month straight.
Yeah.
We attended a game about 2 weeks ago now.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah,
yes.
2 weeks ago. We ended up winning in the 10th, but leading up to that, really the whole couple of weeks and a couple of weeks after, the hitting hasn't been as timely as needed, but their biggest issue has been the bullpen. I seem to recall a good 6 to 8 games they've already given away in the eighth of the ninth. So if they shore that up, I think they still have a good winning team. But it's going to depend on the bullpen, I think.
Hopefully your Anaheim Angels, Chris, will help out the White Sox. You take care of those overrated Twins this weekend.
The Twinkies.
And then the Sox should take care of Kansas City. So that'll be a perfect weekend for yours truly. I'll be attending a couple of those games tomorrow. Tomorrow and Sunday. Before we continue, Christine, I want to give you some props. Of course, last Monday when we had you on the program, Faceless, you said that the Chicago Blackhawks will win the draft lottery. Guess what happened? Connor Bedard is coming to Chicago. Yes.
See, you just gotta have a little bit of confidence, just a tiny bit.
Yeah. So, are you back on the hockey bandwagon now? We know the Hawks are still rebuilding, but what does Connor Bedard? He won't be officially get drafted until next month. But what does this do to you? Are you interested in the Blackhawks again?
I would be more interested to see how they develop Connor as a player. The Blackhawks have been known to develop great talents. I mean, look at Kane, look at Taze. Like, they started with the Blackhawks pretty much, and now look at how far they've come. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to say a bandwagon yet for hockey. Just I'm a Blackhawk fan, right? But if it's too painful, you know me, I'm just going to turn my head the other way. But if it's worth watching, especially seeing Connor, starting his career, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll still be a couple years before they really are in contention. But I think they got the guys doing it. I think having Bedard can kind of, get that thing going a little bit quicker. So we'll see what happens there. Now let's talk about the NBA playoffs for a second, guys. The Lakers, do you think they can perhaps cut into that Denver league? I mean, they could have won both those games in Denver. So, of course, LeBron thought he was Steph Curry, shaking up all those threes.
I think the difference between the Nuggets and the Lakers right now is that the Nuggets have been good consistently throughout the entire season. For whatever reason, the Lakers just got a second wind, pretty much.
They got healthy.
Yeah, they got healthy. So we'll see. But I think consistency is going to persevere here.
I still foresee them taking at least 2 games. I heard something interesting this morning on the radio where the host was talking about LeBron was in a little bit of management mode, a little bit of trying to conserve energy instead of driving and trying to get to the rim, trying to get fouls. He was settling for threes a little bit. We didn't catch the game. It's too late for us, with Christine's 4 a.m. schedule. But I still see the Lakers making this a series, but you never know which team is going to show up that night. So while some of the some of the role players, obviously Austin Reeves and Hashimura have come up big in the playoffs so far, but I still think Denver's going to take it. Yeah, I'll fully admit I'm a bandwagon. I'm a fair weather Laker fan. I'll watch them if they're good. And Kobe's my favorite player ever. So I was glued to the TV then, but less so now. But honestly, any of the 4 teams left could win this title, I think.
Yeah, we talked about it before, Chris, me and Lakina, that LeBron James, especially at his stage of his career, he's 38 years old in his 20th year. He can't carry a team like he did 5 years ago or even 10 years ago. And that's why it's up to guys like Anthony Davis or Huchimara, as you mentioned, Austin Reeves, Dennis Schroeder, who has not had a good series so far for the Lakers, and he threw these first 2 games. They need to show up and show up big time. Now with LeBron hurting with that ankle, which he injured toward the end of the game last night. The next 2 games are at Staples Center. We're not calling it their corporate name on this show. But the Lakers are home for the next 2 games. They should play with a sense of desperation. I'm with you. After game 4, this series should be tied up at 2 games apiece. Now, before we move on, even though I did pick Denver to win it in 6, me personally, as an NBA fan, I would like to see Lakers Celtics one more time with LeBron James. Trust me, the NBA and ESPN/ABC will love it to death. Of course, their second matchup they'd like to see is Lakers Miami. We saw that a couple years ago in the bubble, but this time if we see it, we'll have fans in the stands, and the media will love to travel to South Beach instead of a church hall to play basketball in. So trust me, the league they're wishing the Lakers to win at least the next 2 games to give them hope and say, well, we can have our 2 dream scenario NBA Finals matchups.
Do you guys think about what about the Eastern Conference? Do you guys think the Heat can kind of take control of this series? Do you think Boston has can kind of make it go at it here? What do you guys think?
It's Jimmy Butler. I think loves the spotlight. I think he's a solid leader, and I'm sure it's a little bit painful for the 3 of y'all sitting here.
Should have kept him. That's all I'm saying.
But,
It's true.
He's a bad man. When he gets that look in his eye, it's like he wants to take a game over, and he's going to drag everybody with him. So I don't really like to go against him. Whether the rest of the Heat supporting cast is good enough, I think he's going to make them good enough. So I do see the Heat taking this series, but I don't think it's going to be an easy one at all.
What about you, Christine?
Yeah, I agree. Everything with what Chris said. I don't think it's going to be easy. Jimmy Buckets, man, when he gets hot, he gets hot. Hence, maybe the Heat was in his future in that regard. But I really, I think that it would be great to have a Celtic-Laker matchup. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think so. Not this time around. I don't think. Just because the Lakers going back to the consistency. I know with injuries and stuff like that, but again, it's all about the team. I think that's been consistent for the entire season.
All right. Before we when you guys last joined us, we didn't get a chance to talk about the 2023 Chicago Bears schedule. The schedule wasn't released yet.
Yeah.
Now, since you have you guys back on, the schedule is released, and I'm sure one of us will pull it up in a minute. But the Bears will open up their season September 10th at 3:25 p.m. The late game on Fox against Jordan Love's Green Bay Packers. And Sunday, I believe Sunday, January 3rd, Lakina, if you have it up, they'll end the Bears will end the season in Green Bay.
Yep.
What do you? Hold on, let me
what
get
do I
it.
think? I thought you're going to start the season bad, and then you might as well end up the season bad, too. That's
You must think that Aaron Rodgers is coming back to Green Bay or some weird scenario.
Right. I mean, look, that was my first thought of it as a joke. I'm like, gosh, you're going to just get it out of the way right out the gate, aren't you? So it should be interesting. I think with both quarterbacks, with Fields and Love, I think that's going to be a great matchup. And it will be interesting to see how Love handles the team, because it is his team now.
Yeah, they start September 10th, hosting Green Bay, and as you guys said, they end the season the 7th, to be determined time, of course. So I think
they're
for me,
gonna
they could win.
stomp the Packers.
Right.
Let's turn this part of the table, Keena.
We'll see. No, Chris. Now, no. I would ask you, who's your favorite NFL team? I forgot.
The Broncos.
The Broncos.
I went to school in Denver, but my dad went to a rival high school in the Valley with John Elway, so we always followed his career.
Oh, nice.
Oh, the Bears will play the Broncos this year, I believe,
October
here in
1st.
Chicago. October, what was that, Lakina?
October 1st.
Yeah, so Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, and maybe Russell Wilson's right, Sierra will make a debut in Chicago. I doubt it, but the other two will be there.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, they can only go up from here, right, Chris? Your Broncos. So I'm actually liking their schedule a little bit.
Considering how poor they were last year, I would have to assume that their schedule's a little bit easier this time around. I don't have it in front of me yet. We in fact have the Bears schedule in front of us, but I think Peyton coming in and stopping some of the extra benefits that Russell had. For instance, I believe he had his own coach and his own office in the building.
Yep.
and catering to people like that typically doesn't work out well. I know that caused issues within the Patriots organization with Tom Brady, him having his own trainer and whatnot. But when you win 6 Super Bowls,
I think you're entitled to it.
Yeah.
So with Russell, he doesn't need to be humbled, but I think just more of a team aspect, I think will be good for him.
We talked about the Bears' schedule. Outside of the NFC North division opponents that they'll play, their non-division opponents within the NFC conferences, the NFC South, they'll go to New Orleans. They'll go to Tampa Bay early against Christine's Baker Mayfield Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They'll play Atlanta, and Carolina will come here later on in the season. Of course, the Bears' AFC opponents are the AFC West this year, as we mentioned. Chris's Broncos. They'll play the Chiefs early in the year in September. And, of course, they'll have the Chargers, I believe, on Sunday night. And they'll play the Las Vegas Raiders later on in the season as well. So Chris talking about the Broncos getting the quote-unquote easy schedule because they were terrible last year. Looking at the Bears schedule, they got a third-place schedule too. And just reading into it, it looks like the league wants the Bears to do well sooner than we as Bears fans expect.
It would seem that way. I mean, look, Carolina, the Panthers, they're a mess right now. I don't know what that team is going to look like this season. I think you can only pray for the Panthers fans.
Well, they got Bryce Young. At least that's the starting point, and the new head coach Frank Reich.
Right, exactly. But yeah, it should be. I think it's a pretty good schedule. I think it's a little bit more, I don't want to say challenging than what I was expecting, but there's some surprising games on there that I'm like, oh, we're actually going to play them. Okay, let's see how that goes.
Well, it's sort of saying stuff because I got the Broncos schedule up for you, Chris. They play the NFC North and they play the AFC East. So, the Broncos got a pretty, they might have the same record them in the
they got Aaron Rodgers, yes.
Yeah, they play the Jets. Yeah, they do. They play the Jets on the 8th, right after the Bears game. They play Buffalo in November, the 13th. That's a Monday night game. And they play Detroit on the 17th of December. Of course, the time hasn't been determined yet. But, you have kind of a similar schedule type too, like the Bears, Chris, your Broncos. So they may have the same record. They could probably win 7 or 8, with all the new stuff. Yeah.
It sounds like it. I'm worried. I think Bears fans are probably a little bit worried about the Lions this coming year.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But you know what? If it's their time, it's their time. That's my thought process of it. Let them have it. It's been long enough.
Hey, Lakina, before you continue, has HBO and NFL Films decided on who's going to be this year's team for Hard Knocks? I want to ask. Perfect. I want to go around the panel and I'll give my thoughts last. I'll start with Christine and Chris. Do you think the Bears should be featured on this year's Hard Knocks?
No.
Chris, what about you?
No, I think I can find a more dramatic team. So something that'll really grab headlines, yes.
Makina?
Well, yeah, I'll say Denver. I think, yeah, since they got a new coach, and even though it is Sean Payton, they have a new coach, so I don't think they'll be in it. I can't see the Bears saying yes to this. I don't see it. No, I don't see it happening.
But if all the teams say no, the NFL picks a team, and that whoever that team is, they got to do it no matter what. So we'll see what happens. Me, selfishly, I would like to see it, especially the McCaskies. They got a lot to hide, so they got to show everything on most things. So for that reason alone, I would like to see it just because of that. George McCaskey, what you got to hide, my friend? But of course, new team president Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, I know they'll get most of the camera time, of course, along with Justin Fields and rightfully so. But I want to see them dig some dirt on George McCaskey. I'm here for that.
Fighting words there, Sid.
Yeah, and just for that, that's why it's not happening. Right? That's why it's not happening, because of what Sid just said. So
blame me, okay.
Okay, let's move along here, please. Do you guys want to do PGA Championship first, or do you want to do the sports media news? Which one do you guys want to do?
Let's do the latter.
Oh, he wants to do the sports media news first.
Media. Okay, all right. Pat McAfee, we'll start with that. Pat McAfee has officially signed his deal with ESPN. His McAfee show will air on ESPN in addition to still being on YouTube and such. And of course, he's been doing College Game Day and all those things the last couple of years. What do you guys think about that deal? It looks like a sweet deal that he has.
Hey, he's earned it. I mean, his show has literally skyrocketed, I think, from just a couple of years ago when he started out to right now. It's probably one of the most popular sports shows out there. So I think it's well-deserved.
Chris?
Chris, what about you?
Fantastic for him. I heard he still gets free reign, essentially. He can't cuss as much. I think that was one of the stipulations. But
yeah, I know, right?
Darn. Still gets creative control. Since he has creative control, I think that allayed a bunch of people's fears. People moving over to ESPN to watch him and listen to him. So I'm sure it's going to be a success, and get that back. Like he's getting paid a pretty penny to go do it.
Yeah, I know ESPN and ESPN Radio are going through some layoffs right now, of course, as you mentioned. I think the only question is, I'm sure it's going to be answered pretty quickly if it hasn't already. Will he still get Aaron Rodgers to come on the show every Tuesday? That's the most entertaining part for me.
That's the question.
Right?
I
mean, yeah, because,
No, yeah, I think that's...
go ahead, Chrissy.
No, yeah, it's the question because he's used to doing, more intimate shows that aren't necessarily broadcasted out to the public. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe he adjusts that deal a little bit.
Right. Now, we get a chance to get your guys' reaction about Matt Ryan joining CBS Sports. What do you guys think about that?
Ooh. I think considering all I feel bad for him. The poor guy, just it didn't work out for him with the Colts, and he really was a great player, I think. So I think him being now an analyst and more of like the behind the scenes, I think that's going to be a great role for him. He seems like a pretty analytical guy, so I think he's just going to fit right in.
Yeah, to what she said, he always seemed pretty cerebral in his interviews, so. I hadn't heard that. I'm going to claim ignorance on that. But congrats to him. I think it's kind of a bummer for people in your profession. Sometimes you may feel like you get leapfrogged a little bit by having ex-players out there.
Yeah.
But congrats to him. You just got to say good for you, and hopefully he does a great job.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Lakina, on our last episode on Monday, I'm sure they're going to stick him in the studio for the first few shows on the NFL Today pregame show. I want to see how he interacts with Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms in particular.
Yeah, that should be interesting too. We'll see who he works with when he does the games, out on the field. Mm-hmm. So that should be interesting. Now, sticking with the NFL, Peacock. This news came out earlier this week that they're going to carry one playoff game exclusively. It'll be exclusively streamed on Peacock. And I've seen a lot of people already, miffed and freaked out about it. Look, I have Peacock. I don't know if you guys got Peacock, but
No, I have it. Yeah,
we
I
are
have it.
Peacock. Yeah.
Oh yeah, awesome. So yeah, what do you guys think about this?
I'm never a fan of restricting access to something like that, and the NFL must have gone through their calculations and said, hey, there are going to be enough people, and we're going to end up, selling enough advertisement to do something like this, to go ahead and agree with it. But it's tough when you balkanize media and charge for subscriptions and just to watch certain things. I think it's tough on the average fan. So it's a good thing for us that we all have Peacock. And congrats to NBC for getting the rights for one of the playoff games. But yeah, it's always nice when you can just flip on the TV and not have to worry about it.
Oh, well, I think to that extent too, Peacock is technically free. So I guess it just depends if this is going to be available for everybody, or if this is just for people that go the extra mile and pay for it. So that's what I'd be interested in.
Yeah, because the NFL, with them making moves already, their NFL Sunday ticket package is going to be on YouTube and YouTube TV. You got to pony up some money for that. And of course, Thursday Night Football is exclusive. If you have Amazon Prime, if you don't have, you have to pony up some money for that. So I'm with you, Chris. Me and Lakina say all the time, people want and need options, and if you just make it exclusive to a certain audience, that makes it bad. And so you want many as people as possible to watch your product, but if you just restrict it to a certain type of audience, you're going to be in trouble. That's what baseball is going through right now. MLB. We won't get into that because we don't have enough time. But
nope.
Restricted to a certain amount of audience, you're not going to get as many people to watch.
Well, also with the YouTube TV for a second, remember, didn't they have issues with a Heat and Celtics game 1? I mean, I think it was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm hoping that's not a sign of this to come with that Sunday ticket, but you're gonna be paying like almost $500, and that's what happened. So I hope they figure it out. Listen, second see Sports on Chicago, Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Argo, KXRB's Christine Manika, and her fiance, our good buddy Chris Gilman. All right, Chris, we got a few minutes left. The PGA Championship is commencing over at Oak Hill in Rochester, New York, upstate New York. Scotty Scheffler, as we're recording this, is leading right now. Bryson DeChambeau, it's good to see him back near the top. He's a shot behind Victor Hovland. Christine's guy, I think. Corey Connors, Keegan Bradley, who has one of these, is 3 shots back, and Colin Morikawa is at even par, and a lot of guys have not started yet, because of weather delays and such. So, Chris, what do you think's going to happen? Who's going to get the Wanamaker Trophy?
Oh gosh, well, it certainly looks pretty hard out there, and
yeah,
I know. So I know these tournaments pick their sites 10 to 15 years in advance, sometimes even longer, and back then when they chose this site, it was still they held it in August. So to be in, Western New York, close enough to the Great Lakes, you go, well, it's going to be nice in August. It might rain, but that's okay. It'll still be warm. But it's cold in May. I mean, heck, it feels about 40 degrees in Sioux Falls right now. So
yep.
Some places in the country, it's still a little too cold to, I think, to hold events like this. The golf course looks phenomenal. I think there aren't many good strategies to play this place. You just have to hit it really, really good. And probably somebody who makes the least amount of bogeys is going to win. Let's see. I mean, Scheffler.
Bogey-free card.
Yeah.
The other day.
PGA Tour app is a little bit behind the TV coverage, but they're showing he's bogey-free so far through, I think, 5 holes. I'm going to go ahead and take Scheffler. I know it's the simple pick. It's the safe pick. I feel bad about picking Koepka, and then Rahm ended up doing exactly the opposite of what I thought he might do. He just played phenomenal at the Masters on the weekend when it was wet, and it was a little chilly, but congratulations to him. So I'm going to go with Scheffler.
I'll ask my one and only golf question, Lakina, just to make you proud. Chris, the names that we haven't mentioned as not on the top of the leaderboard. Do you see a golfer who's struggling right now to at least make a push to challenge Scotty Scheffler or Corey Connors?
I think Thomas and Spieth kind of.
Gosh, if I'm looking at it right now,
Rory.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think his head's in it right now. I think he's a little under the weather. This might be one of those places where if you didn't get off to a good start, it might be a little bit too hard to make up that sort of ground. So I think it's going to be a front runners sort of place. So if you're looking at, I would say anybody from even par or better has the best chance of taking it. And then you have to go with somebody who is just that good all the time, because it looks like the conditions of the golf course are pretty difficult. Everybody's trying super hard and just not getting a whole lot out of it. So if anybody else, it's going to be DeChambeau or Hoffland, in my opinion, which is going to make Christine happy.
Yes.
I think any golf fan would love to have Victor win.
I would love to see Victor win.
Yeah, he's due for a big win, I think.
He is, and he really does seem like a phenomenal guy and just smiling all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. You sort of attract in the world what you put out into the world. So seems like a pretty good guy to hang out with.
All right, you can catch the coverage of the PGA Championship right now on ESPN as soon as we're done here, and also too on CBS for both Saturday and Sunday. So should be fun. And I think PGA Championship is always interesting because you always get guys that kind of come out of not really out of nowhere, but it's like you said, Chris. I mean, the fact that it's now in May, you got to deal with the conditions as it's such. So it should be interesting to see what happens here. We'll see if Scheffler can win another major. So should be fun.
I agree.
All right. Anything else before we disperse? Anything you got in mind, Sid, or anything else you guys?
I want to ask Chris and Christine one more question. Of course, we talked about the NFL schedule earlier. Of course, with these NFL schedule release days, all the teams have these special videos they put out on social media. The Bears did a great job with theirs. I thought the Los Angeles Chargers did great with theirs using the anime. But me personally, the Tennessee Titans, them. I want to ask you guys who takes the cake as far as the NFL schedules, or who did the best. And it looks like both of you guys want to comment on the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, Tennessee, hands down.
Hands down, man.
Hands down.
So can we all agree that Cowboys aren't America's team anymore?
Right?
I thought the best reaction was with the Colts logo, and they kept on saying, "Oh, that's Dallas. I know that one. Yeah,
that's the Cowboys. Yes, they were so insistent.
Yeah. What about the St. Louis Rams, the New Orleans Saints?
Right.
Yeah, that's the St. Louis Rams. Yeah, that's it. The New Orleans Saints.
Or is that a pirate? It's a pirate ship, right?
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Oh, jeez, I felt so bad for that older lady.
I want to know if they paid people to act that dumb, how much, and then I want to know where they found those people.
That's the thing, right? Nobody can be that. Even my mom's not a big sports, even she can name like half those teams. Come on, folks.
Right.
Yeah, the football team with no logo. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That logo's not real. Okay. And they won the division last year.
Didn't they say Jacksonville was the Cheetahs? They're like, is that a cheetah?
Yes.
Lightning McQueen, like that's when the Chargers. That's who they first played in Week 1. Is the Chargers, and they call it Lightning McQueen. So like, what? The superhero name that we missed. Like, oh God. I mean, but kudos to the social media team over there, and whether they paid or not, it was actually pretty funny. So
it was hilarious.
So good.
Yeah,
it was hilarious. All right, so anything else before we disperse?
I'm good. I'm ready to get out and enjoy this weather finally. I'll be at the Sox games this weekend. Hopefully they'll win both those games as they try to call her back to 500. And hopefully Liam Hendricks will make his debut in Cleveland on Monday because that Sox bullpen desperately needs him right now.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, but true.
He is Spark in general. So yeah, we'll see if Chris's Angels can kind of keep up in the AL West. I mean, they've been solid so far. I think that's gonna be a very competitive division. And yeah, well, we'll see what happens. With that said, you can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at KXRB on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80, SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine and Chris, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
After you.
Oh, after me. Okay. So they can follow me at @Manika_KXRB.
Hey, she's the important one, so.
On that note.
You can follow me. You can find me on Twitter at all lowercase golfer, GOLFER, Gilly, GILLY, golfer Gilly.
All right, and you can catch our show on War Media Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, WARR Media Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Google, Apple, whatever you got, it's all right there. Also on YouTube as well, so it's all right there for you.
Yeah, so don't forget to catch Second City Sports Live in Living Color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports Live in Living Color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And our buddy Brand's been asking how do you get us on Roku. Well, it's very simple. Roku TV, right there. If you got whether you got the stick or whether you have the app itself, you can on the Play Store right there. You can if I can get it up. This thing has been acting very weird. There we go. Oh, I just had it. There we go. Just type in Sports of Chicago on the Play Store. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, and What's Up, Cuz. And yeah, it's all right there for you anytime, anywhere you want. So yeah, Brandon, there you go to answer your question. So yeah, so you check us out anytime you want.
Yes. So go out there and make it a great weekend. Don't do anything stupid. Enjoy this beautiful weather. For Chris and Christine, I'm Sid. You're listening, and Lakina. You've been listening to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago, and we will see you on Monday.
Go Sox, go Cubs, go PGA Championship. Holla.
Go Sox.